Ian Moss, welcome back to noise11.com. And great to have you here with a lot of activity still to come. I think last time we talked, Ian, was probably about 2 years ago. You've had an entire career in that time. There's been the studio album, the acoustic album, there's been the Chisel dates, the Chisel Live coming through. And we've got even more to talk about because you've got Night at the Barracks coming up later in the year with Mark Seymour.
Yeah, no, it has been busy. I recently also completed, my one guitar, one night only tour, part two with the jazz trio, which went really well. That was in May. So good to be busy.
And getting together and doing those songs differently must be thrilling for you, I would imagine. And like even listening to the Anita's live album, the difference in the songs when they're stripped back and suddenly the lyrics come to the forefront. Do you notice that when you do an acoustic show that, suddenly people are listening to the words more than sort of tapping their feet?
Yeah, well, you got a couple of things going on. You haven't got the distraction of other instruments. It's just the one guitar and a stomp box, the foot box. It tends to just draw people's focus to the vocals, which aren't possibly a lot clearer, and the words are coming out that people can hear the lyrics a lot clearer because there's not so many instruments get in the way. And I think those shows, I'll get a mixture of people say, "Oh no, I only like watching Mossy on electric guitar. I want to go and see one of those shows." But there's plenty of people that are more than happy to sit back and not be smashed over the head with the band and absorb the singing and absorb the stories.
Well, and that's what I noticed with the Anita's, particularly the live album that you've got out there. A song like Such a Beautiful Thing really does have an interesting story about yourself in there, talking about the territory man, the territory is in me. That was one of the highlights off the Matchbook album when it first came out in 1989.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a bit of a sleeper, that one. It's interesting. Sort of, there was... for whatever reason, other songs have been chosen as the next single, and that one tended to get ignored by some, but not by radio, who jumped on it and played that one probably just as much as they played Tucker's Daughter. Great song by Mr. Don Walker, once again, came to the rescue. That was the last song to be included on the Matchbook album.
The Matchbook album was, quite a big album, 1989. So we're coming up to how long? Nearly 40 years with something like that, which is a long way back.
Who's counting?
Well, the songs really do stand up still, though.
They do. I mean, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's Don Walker's fastidiousness, pedantry. Hang on, I'll just get the thesaurus out. Or stickler to be really, we'd be on the road doing a bunch of songs, get to a sound check one day and everyone's messing around, get their sounds, and Don's sitting on the piano playing through some song and that you hadn't heard before, and it grabbed your ear and said, "Oh, what's that? That's pretty cool. Oh, new song I'm working on, nearly finished. Oh, sounds finished. What's missing?" So, there's a word in the second line of the third verse I'm just not happy with, and sing anything. It's ridiculous. And I said, no, I'll wait. It might take a week, might take a year. But once you got it and then you scan through the whole thing, you went, yeah, I get it now. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's part of the reason, 50 years later, we've got these all these brilliant songs, which you just never, ever get sick of, fortunately.
Because I've spoken to Troy Cassadaly, who has written with you, he's written with Jimmy, and he's written with Don. He's pretty much mirrored exactly what you just said then about Don. How like he could sit opposite the table in a coffee shop for like an hour, and then Don would finally come out and change one word.
Yeah, that'd be Don. But it's the time final little touches to just get those slightly bit more polish and get a little bit more better, and it pays off. pays off.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you do go back and have a listen to some of the lyrics and how they date us back to a particular time where you're singing about the colour TV or the black and white TV, the telephone booth. I mean, we still do have telephone booths around, but, it's probably something that the average under 25-year-old has never used in their lifetime.
There's interesting, just a sort of collection of them. I was in London last month and saw quite a few still around. I don't know if they're actually in use or not, but no, fascinating. But well, the whole part and parcel of all that is dial this number. Everyone says, oh, we still say dial. There's probably a million of these classic things which are, well, what are you dialing? But from yesterday, but but now we're tapping numbers. Yeah, that's good to have those visual memory stimuli.
Yeah. What I loved about the Anita's record is the older songs that you've chosen. Angel Eyes, 1946, Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole. Which version were you sourcing from to do that version?
First time I ever heard the song was Sinatra. I think it was Live at the Sands, 1961. Because the arrangement I do is just loosely sort of following the piano. Embarrassing. I'm not sure it was Oscar Peterson playing piano. I'll just Google that quickly. So that's for the guitar part. So just loosely that inspired my guitar parts. But the vocals. There was just one because there's all this dialogue before the song starts, and Sinatra's kind of joking around a bit, and then whole at the start of the song it all sounds really flippant, but somehow by the end of it, it goes into this beautiful kind of dark place, and it just sounds, you're just so with him. It's like there's a guy sitting there that's just had his heart severely broken, and Sinatra takes you all the way in there, and it's just like wow. So yeah, I've always been keen to work up a version of that song. Love playing that song.
What about the song Cry Me a River? And before we start this, for anyone under the age of 40, we're not talking about Justin Timberlake song here, so tune out now. Cry Me a River, the old 1953 Arthur Hamilton. And I loved and first heard the Joe Cocker version of this.
Probably the same. Maybe the other famous, more jazz version is Julie London. Might be Barney Kessel on guitar. I'm not sure which one I heard first out of those, but they're definitely those two.
Yeah, you're definitely doing the Julie London, not the Joe Cocker version.
Yeah. But that's a great version. Leon Russell on piano and Mad Dogs and the Englishman with Joe Cocker's version. Yeah. But anyway, the song itself, it's all about the song. There's another fantastic song that lends to the one bloke and one guitar. I'd happy sort of sit there and do 100 of those songs and forget all my stuff and just do songs like that.
With that song in particular, Cry Me a River, Joe Cocker did the version of that. You also did Georgia on My Mind, which was a Ray Charles. Joe was influenced by Ray Charles. So there's a commonality in both the influence of Ian Moss and the influence of Joe Cocker.
Yeah, but well, with Georgia on My Mind, there's I think not sure if I'd heard Alice Springs. I grew up in Alice Springs, and we only had the one radio station, good old ABC, and in the early '60s. But it played a lot of all that, the black music. That was called R&B. Sam Cooke and Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin. So you heard all those songs, Hit the Road Jack and I Can't Stop Loving You, and You Don't Know Me, things like that.
Talking about your influences and where it all came from. So, you have explained that, like I grew up in Sydney around the same time, 2SM in those days was all about pop music. You had the opportunity to go back even further and deeper than I did from a listening experience, even though I was in a city with multiple radio stations to listen to.
That is the benefit. And I guess yeah, we probably weren't getting a lot of the current pop stuff initially. So we're getting all that, like I say, the R&B, the black soul music from America, but also getting a lot of country, real full on country stuff. Hank Williams and uh, great, Johnny Cash, and Johnny Cash is probably bluesier than a lot of that stuff. But the way we got around sort of hearing the latest pop stuff was because back then it was all AM radio around the world as well. 60s, no FM radio in sight, and AM radio, even though the quality's not as good as FM, it transmits a long distance, and you could chuck an aerial up somewhere, even just on the roof of your house, and Alice Springs. Well, car radio seemed to be pretty good at picking up, just propping up the aerial. And one day I'll get someone to explain the science to me, but sort of nighttime for some reason was always you got the best reception. So you'd be tuning in, picking up songs from mainly from Adelaide. Sydney and Melbourne would have been too far, but you'd be picking up top 40 stuff from. It's hard to explain it. Because the signal it wouldn't be a nice clear signal from beginning to end. You'd tune in and finally get it. Yeah, be halfway through the song and it would just start to drift off. You'd go, not my favourite bit. In fact,
I'll save you. I'll save you, Ian. I'll do the science for it right now. AM is it bounces off the clouds. So when an AM signal goes out, if it's a cloudy night, it'll bounce as far as it can go until there's no more cloud. But with FM, it's directional. So the minute it hits a solid object, it ends. So that's why AM radio will go for hundreds of kilometres and FM radio will probably go for maybe 50 to 80 kilometres.
Well, I grew up in Alice Springs. We got rainfall of that fucking 0.1 of an inch a year, so I don't know where the fucking clouds were.
All right. Tell me about another one, Green, Green Grass of Home. I know that as the Tom Jones song, but I think Tom was covering it. Prior to Tom, it was a country song.
Yeah, well, I suppose he turns it into kind of a country soul thing. Country, my first version as well, and that was well before you sort of versed in the songwriters. That there was a whole background of songwriting and people covering other people's songs. You always presumed as a kid, the person you heard singing, you presumed they wrote the song. It all came from there. That was always just an old favourite. I used to start doing it as tongue in cheek, thinking I'm a dedicated blues rock guy. That stuff's too country and easy for me. But then, years later, you realise what a great song and what a great version, what a great voice, Tom Jones. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun to sing. Great, and with a lot of country music compared to rock, it was all about the lyrics, as you finally grew to appreciate when you, as you started learning to write songs and write lyrics. Country world was always full of great stories and great lyrics. Rock world might have been a lot of shit lyrics in rock back then. So Green Green Grass Home it's just a lot of fun to play.
You've just finished up with the Big 5-0 tour, and what I love was sort of the lucky dip each night. If you went to the show for the Ian Moss songs, Plaza 9 times, Rosaline 7, Taipan 14 times, Four Walls nearly every show 20 times. Was there a bit of a chocolate wheel out the back, and before the show you spun the chocolate wheel, and hey, tonight it's Rosaline?
Yeah, a little bit. I just choose on the lows. Yeah, so there's had those three for me: the Rosaline, Georgia, I think. What was the other one? But Plaza. Yeah. So that was, I just choose it just before going on. Plaza. That's which is arguably the strongest of the lot. It just shorter, fantastic song. Just Don and I on stage as a point of difference to the full-on band going for it. Those and the handful of songs. Obviously the Flame Trees with Kay Sands and Bo Rivers and Choir Girl. They were going to be there all the time. But there's a little selection of songs we'd just on the night sort of I mean, you're talking about, all these set lists were there's about eight set lists written months before the start of the tour, and we just almost, I don't know, toss a coin as to what we were going to do one night, and make sure we didn't do necessarily the same ones in a row. Largely they're the same, about 90% the same, but then that other 10% sort of, it was. It kept us on our toes, and kept people kept people's interest piqued, if if they weren't already, if their interest wasn't already piqued. So.
It gave us, who saw multiple shows. I was lucky enough to see 3 of the shows in Melbourne, including the ones that will be on DVD. I'll be looking for myself in the audience, mate. Thank you very much. But yeah, I mean, that did give the show a point of difference. There are a lot of Ian Moss Cold Chisel songs like You Are So Beautiful from Blood Moon, Get Lucky, Shoot the Moon off The Perfect Crime, Too Late. You've got a lot of Moon songs, haven't you? Summer Moon, No Plans, Way Down, Red Sand off Last Wave of Summer. Have they ever surfaced in a set list?
Some have, not necessarily in Cold Chisel concerts. I've occasionally done band versions, as under Ian Moss, whether it be solo acoustic or with the band. Red Sand was a regular a few years back. I haven't done that one for a while. Summer Moon, I love that song. I'd readily get back do that again. But that's a great one to do with Cold Chisel. Yeah, it's just so many great songs to choose from. Yeah, pretty good problem to have.
Yeah, you got just on my count there about 19 songs that could all make their own set list and be their own show.
So many songs, so little time.
Yes. Stay tuned, folks, for the Ian Moss Sings Ian Moss of Cold Chisel tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. I mean, I've got 3. I've got the rock thing going, solo acoustic now. With the last tour, I did the one guitar, one night only in May this year, 25, with a kind of more jazz trio. That's another facet, which took a lot of work to put into it, but so rewarding, and just gives me another angle to present myself.
So we've got the live DVD coming up. If you jump onto streaming services, you can have a listen to Live at Anita's, which is a very good way to catch up to what Ian has been doing with the solo project. So, we've had the Big 5-0. We've missed out on the Big 5-1. I take it there'll be no Big 5-2. Big 5-3, is that looking likely?
All I can say is we just had such a great tour, everyone getting on so well and having such an enjoyable time. It was great to finish our last gig finished in New Zealand. We did for the Big 5-0 tour up I've forgotten the name of the town, Coromandel, on the Coromandel coast, not far from Hot Water Beach, and everyone just shook hands and said, we've got to do this again, and let's not make it 5 years by a long shot. So watch this space. Nothing planned at the stage, but the heart and the enthusiasm is definitely there.
Excellent stuff. Well, Ian, good to catch up with you again, and thank you for being with us here at Noise 11.
Anytime, Paul.